Your friend comes to you with a business deal. Easy money, zero effort. Just helping a university with their anatomy class. Nice, you think. Hand out some textbooks, take the cash, go home. Nope. You're not teaching the class. You're not assisting the professor. You're not even in the audience. You're the body on the table. Because your business partner already sold your corpse before you were even dead. And that partner, the man behind the curtain, H. Holmes. A man who treated murder like freelance work and insurance fraud like morning exercise. He killed with precision. He erased bodies like typos. He scammed insurance companies so effortlessly they probably sent him apology letters. But the one thing he absolutely couldn't pull off? Stealing a horse. Not the bodies, not the torture rooms, not the disappearances. A single horse took down the devil in the White City. Strap in. It doesn't get darker from here. It gets dumber. If Lucifer himself sat across from H. Holmes, but not the horned monster, the charming suit-wearing, I own hell and 2 nightclubs Lucifer, Holmes wouldn't fear him. Holmes would price him. Nice skin tone, perfect teeth. Medical schools will fight over you. Because Holmes didn't see people. He saw inventory. He wasn't born evil. He was born looking for profit margins in human anatomy. Herman Webster Mudgett. A name that sounds like a man who'd sell you a life insurance plan and then write himself in as the beneficiary. Medical school didn't make Holmes a doctor. It simply taught him what a corpse was worth per pound. Most students saw cadavers and thought, science. Holmes saw cadavers and thought, revenue stream unlocked. He learned how bodies arrived, who paid for them, and how nobody questioned anything as long as the paperwork smiled confidently. That's when Holmes built his greatest invention. Not medicine, not healing. A business model. Dead bodies plus insurance companies equals an economy where the corpse earns more money than the living ever did. Holmes didn't commit crimes one by one. He sold them in bundles. Buy a fraud, get a murder included. And the scariest part? He didn't wrestle with morality. He didn't debate it. He didn't even pause. He just shrugged at morality and chose the option that made him richer and everyone else less alive. Eventually, Holmes does what all successful con men do. He moves to a big city so he can ruin more lives at scale. Chicago, 1890s. A city where people came to build dreams. And thanks to Holmes, came to lose them just as fast. Holmes bought a building and remodeled it into what newspapers later called the Murder Castle. Was it really a purpose-built torture labyrinth? Depends on who you ask. Newspapers said, yes, absolutely. This was Saw plus Silent Hill plus Home Depot. Historians said, all right, maybe breathe into a paper bag. But here's the part nobody debates. Holmes designed this place like a psychopath playing The Sims with every cheat code activated. Rooms with no windows. Doors opening into brick walls. Hallways looping into themselves like someone rage quit halfway through the floor plan. Hidden chutes that dropped straight to the basement. Gas lines piped into bedrooms. And a furnace big enough to cremate a grown adult without raising suspicion. So yeah, maybe Castle was dramatic. But the man basically built a murder-themed IKEA, complete with confusing hallways and employees who had no idea what they were assembling. Holmes hired workers, fired them before they learned the layout, then repeated the cycle so no one ever understood the building better than he did. Because Holmes wasn't building a hotel. He wasn't building a business. He was building a machine. A machine with 2 outputs: bodies, profit. Women checked in, disappeared, their belongings were sold, and sometimes their skeletons were cleaned and shipped to medical schools like limited edition collectibles. Holmes turned human remains into an actual revenue stream. Passive income. Holmes didn't run a hotel. He ran an economy of the dead. Holmes could have quietly kept scamming forever. But then he met a man whose name would become accidentally iconic. Benjamin Petezel. Petezel was Holmes's business partner in the same way a crash test dummy is a driving assistant. Together they planned a scam, fake Petezel's death, collect $10,000 in insurance, split the money, live happily ever after. Except Holmes did what Holmes always did. He skipped the fake part and went straight to actual murder. He killed Petezel for real, pocketed the money, and treated it like just another Tuesday. Then, in a plot twist nobody ordered, he took Petezel's children on a cross-country trip. Like a dark, cursed sitcom where every episode ends with someone missing. Once the police finally connected the dots, Holmes's life started unraveling fast. Fake identities, illegal marriages, insurance scams, missing women, bodies, bones, and a hotel full of rooms that looked like they were designed by someone who trusted nobody and feared everybody. Holmes's entire existence was a Jenga tower built out of lies, and the police had just removed the one block holding the whole structure together. And after everything, the scams, the bodies, the murder house, the nationwide manhunt, how did America's first serial killer finally get caught? He stole a horse. He survived murder investigations. He survived insurance audits. He survived building a torture hotel in the middle of Chicago without anyone asking, "Hey, why does this hallway scream danger?" But one stolen horse ended the entire operation. Truly inspiring. A masterclass in failing upward, right until gravity remembered who he was. Holmes was arrested, tried, and executed in 1896. And when it came time to bury him, the man who spent years treating human bodies like disposable income streams was suddenly terrified someone might disturb his. So he asked to be buried in a coffin filled with concrete, as if he suddenly cared about corpse safety. Holmes wasn't the smartest killer. He wasn't the deadliest killer. He wasn't even the most organized. But he was the first American supervillain to industrialize crime and turn human lives into merchandise. A murderer with the soul of a CEO, a con man with the confidence of a surgeon, and a legacy built on lies, and that one stupid horse. So what do we learn from H.H. Holmes? Honestly, nothing good. If anything, Holmes is proof that you can be below average in intelligence, planning, social skills, carpentry, and basic human empathy, and still leave a mark on history if you're determined enough and have absolutely no moral breaks. Holmes wasn't a genius. He wasn't some mastermind. He wasn't even particularly competent. He was just a man who looked at human life and thought, yeah, that seems monetizable. And that's the real horror here. Not the murders, not the scams, not the torture hotel. It's that one man with a terrible business idea and even worse ethics still managed to cause chaos on a national scale simply because nobody bothered to ask the follow-up questions. Holmes didn't outsmart the world. The world just didn't expect someone to be this committed to being awful. And maybe that's the lesson. Evil doesn't always arrive as a genius. Sometimes it shows up as a guy who fails upward until gravity steps in. And if you ever feel useless in life, just remember, America's first serial killer was undone by a horse. A whole murder empire, gone because he wanted a free ride. So stay safe, stay curious, and please, if anyone ever invites you to join a business opportunity that involves anatomy classes, run. Because the last thing you want is to end up in a PowerPoint presentation labeled "Sample Skeleton Gently Used."